Okay, everything seems to be working now. This is her lie I tried to believe. Obviously we ended there last. So now we're going to the next chapter. Chapter 2. A group date, maybe. Two years. It took 2 years before I saw her again. By that time, I was well underway on my major and was starting to get used to the lifestyle of the university. I was living on my own in a gloomy one-room apartment for less than a year. I had zero passion and only knew how to do one thing correctly, which of course was studying, as if I was the target of a curse a long time ago. I really didn't know why I was so into it. Yeah, a lot of doors would probably open up to me in the future, but what if I didn't want to enter any of them? I had no motivation to climb up the ladder, and I certainly wouldn't have known what to do with all the money being thrown at me. Wait 1 second, let me do this. Let me just message speed all the way. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Let me. Oh, that is so much better. But I guess that even this type of attitude can attract some people. It was as if they knew that talking to you would inevitably boost their own self-esteem. That was how I met my first friend. Since, well, have I ever had a friend before? Not that I saw him as a friend in the first place. He was in most of my classes during high school and took that as an opportunity to start socializing with me during our courses together. I went with the flow, finding my own amusement in his somewhat carefree demeanor. That's when one day, out of nowhere, he decided to invite me to this, I don't remember how to pronounce it. I can't call it a date. So, a group date, maybe? Fuck it. Anyway, it was this thing where a group of men and women the same age and logically in equal numbers meet each other for almost the first time in an attempt to find love. Sure, it was obviously a cheap excuse to try to find somebody to empty your load into, but whatever. At the point I was at, it didn't matter at all that much. Trying to fuck someone was, as most men my age, well, any age really, one of my priorities, even though pretty much inaccessible. I didn't go out of my way to try and have sex, and that's probably the reason why I had no sex life. So I accepted. He was kinda odd though. He said to me, "You won't regret it, Tim. I even have a surprise waiting for you." Then laughed like an imbecile. He was an imbecile. It was only when I entered the bar where we were meeting that I understood the full meaning of his words. There were 7 people at the table already, waiting for me, which means we were a party of 8, 4 boys and 4 girls. 2 of those girls were completely unattractive, fat or with a big chin, and a weird hairstyle. The other one was already almost in bed with a big mouth. Okay, I think it's breaking some things. Big mouth guy. So those 3 were unfuckable. That was my first thought upon entering the bar. My second thought wasn't dissimilar to the previous one, but it was still very surprising indeed. It was her. She was there, drinking a beer, casually talking with another dude. It's a sports-like type. Another one who's unfuckable, but of course not for the same reasons. I should just get out of here. This is so pitiful, it's not even funny. That's when Mike, my friend, noticed my arrival and forcefully introduced me to the group. Oh, this is the guy I was talking about. Hey, Tim. Come on, don't be shy. We were waiting for you. I was clicking my tongue out loud, but quickly decided otherwise. Maybe the big-chinned one could be fuckable after a couple of beers and in the dark. I sat next to my friend. I tried not to look over to the right-hand side of my table too much because the symmetry irritated me somehow. He said my name out loud before introducing everybody else from left to right. I don't remember any of their names, and seriously, I didn't want to use even the most useless part of my brain to do so. Oh no, whoa, I didn't finish that. All the same, I still greeted everyone politely until it came to that one name, that is. Let me move that out the way. And I could introduce you to Cassandra, but I guess I don't have to, right? I glared at him, not hiding my displeasure in the slightest. Excuse me. He's clearly excited to see my reaction, as though my meeting her again will make me happy of all things, as if it's a gift or something. How the fuck does he know that I have a history with her anyway? I said, yeah, all the while scratching my cheek a bit flustered. Similarly, she didn't look my way all that much and only said hi in a voice that could have easily been misconstrued as a whisper. I was grateful for that, even though I had harbored hatred for her for the greatest part of my life, and probably still do. The fact that she understood my reluctance to face her was what saved the little composure I had left. So, even though she was right there on the other side of the table, I was still able to enjoy myself by drinking and chatting with those around me. Her presence didn't disturb me in the slightest. I swear, it's just that, in the heat of the moment, I was kinda caught off guard, that's all. After all, it's not like I understood the complexity of my feelings for her anymore. I had hated her for so long that by the end of high school, I had completely dehumanized her in my mind. Added to that, the fact that she had completely disappeared from my life at one point led me to assume that she was dead. So, it was only natural that I would be baffled by a non-human presumed dead person looking so lively and cheerful. Yeah, that's a good reason. She was sexy, no longer just cute or beautiful, but sexy. She had on a blue shirt which accentuated her overly seductive curves well, a black skirt that I couldn't see very well because of the table, and her hair was loose and ended just a bit under her chest. I tried as best I could not to look away, but it was hard when surrounded by ugly girls. Still, I did what I must and tried to hook up with the chin girl in front of me. After an hour and a half, I was on my fourth beer, and the first newly formed couple had decided to finish the night on their own. This made things a bit complicated for me. Now the only ones left are me, the fat girl, my friend, the big chin, the sports dude, and Cass, whatever other girl that I once knew. So obviously it became harder and harder not to interact with her. That's when the phone of the girl in front of me, chin, started vibrating. She became kinda hysterical about the text. I think it was a text that she received on her phone. She said a couple of words to the fat girl seated next to her and took off. The fat girl looked at me a bit awkwardly and said, sorry, her ex just texted her, as if her reaction was the most understandable thing in the world. So that ugly chick just dumped me for a guy that had probably flushed her a while ago. I was depressed, but not about her departure per se, obviously. At least the alcohol had begun to do its work. That's when the night started taking a turn for the worse. My friend, who was seated on my left in front of the fat chick, was now seated on my right. The sports dude who had been chatting with that girl before was now enjoying his time with the fat girl on my left. It was then that I realized my friend, without as much as a warning, had started a group conversation with her and me. So how long have you two known each other? I was staring blankly at the table, or maybe at the beer in my hand, trying as best I could not to look interested. I think she answered him with something and then giggled, but I don't remember it at all too well. She seemed to be drinking quite heavily too. that long. Man, you must be glad to have a chance to see each other like this after so long. Maybe it's fate. Who knows? Haha. He was irritating me. It was so obvious that he was the one behind it all. Perhaps they had planned this together in order to humiliate me or something. That's when I uttered something that I probably shouldn't have. I still don't know why I thought this was a great idea. Tell me. I glared at him with perceivable defiance. How did you know that she and I knew each other anyway? I analyzed his every change in expression. I probably thought he would be flustered by my sudden inquiry, that he would start stuttering, unable to explain himself coherently. But to the contrary, he was surprised that I didn't know the reason behind it. Let me just grab my glasses. Come on, man, everyone in high school probably knew about it. Don't you remember that nasty girl and her group of friends who started all those awful rumors about Cass the moment she quit school? Fuck. Now I remember. Oh man, I remember still. You were so ruthless. You walked up to those girls and started insulting the shit out of them. But how uneducated they were, and about the fact that they were wasting their time and had no future. And then you started listing every achievement Cass had ever accomplished, from the prize she won in some piano competition, I think, to the national ranking that she topped with her academic performance. Excuse me. You know, I'm not the type that would ever hit a girl or anything, but this one was just asking for it. She didn't even try to listen to what you were saying at all, and kept on cutting you off, talking some bullshit that she heard somewhere down the street. How ridiculous, really. This was when I was still very much on edge about losing what I had thought was my only drive in this world. Some bitches were bad-mouthing her, something along the lines of prostitution or some stupid shit like that. It was 2 months after she'd suddenly quit school, so anything goes, I guess. But then, since they had nothing else more useful to do with their sorry little lives, they started some baseless rumors about her cheating during exams, or offering sexual bribery to the teachers in order to get a higher ranking in midterms. That's when I lost my shit, because telling those ridiculous things insinuated that the rival I had always seen as my equal was in reality nothing more than a fake, and that was completely unacceptable. And yes, I would have beaten the shit out of them if it hadn't been for a teacher stepping in. Hey Tim, do you remember what you shouted at her to make her shut up? Oh my neck. Enough. Even if she cheated during the midterms or prostituted herself, it would change the fact that she's way better than a lot of you. At least she achieved everything she ever set out to do. You low-life bitches will never understand the meaning of the term achievement for as long as you still live in this world. Do you understand, you worthless pieces of shit? Damn. He's really ruthless, huh? I remember it down to the very last syllable. I have no fucking idea why, though. He said it out loud, not nearly as perfectly as I remembered it, but it was still very surprising to hear it from someone else's mouth. I then instantly noted that she had started to blush the moment she understood the meaning behind those words. This was bad. This was a misunderstanding. I never said any of this to protect her. I only said it because at that moment I knew for a fact that you were head over heels for her, and I found it so tragic that you had probably never had the chance to say to her. So now you can understand why, when I met her out of absolutely nowhere at my part-time job, he points casually towards her, I had to try and organize something for the both of you. So that's why you invited me here tonight? I was then on my 5th beer, and I was not what we could call a heavy drinker back then, so I was flustered alright, but I don't think people will actually notice it, as it was probably easily concealed by my wasted features, which were much more prominent than anything else. Yeah, man, why else? We're friends, right? You look down all the time, so I thought this might cheer you up. You shouldn't have. Seriously, you shouldn't have, you fucking idiot. The whole time she didn't say anything. She just looked at me silently with what I can probably guess is a light smile on her face. Of course, I couldn't be sure since I wasn't actually reciprocating her stares. Damn, the writing looks weird. Still, I wondered why she kept quiet when we were openly talking about all those things which were directly related to her. There goes the dog. Then, oh, that's my girlfriend texting me. Sorry guys, got to go. My useless friend got up to his feet in a hurry. Damn, doggo. What do you mean you have a girlfriend? What was this entire date all about then? Yeah, tonight was for you, man. He walked up to me and laid his hand on my shoulder carelessly, whispering into my ear with his warm and foul breath. Enjoy yourself, will ya? And with this, before another word could leave my mouth, he disappeared in the blink of an eye. Well, he didn't actually disappear, but I was intoxicated to the point where the actions around me were registering in my mind as though in fast forward. Life and time were moving rapidly without my consent. This was extremely awkward. In a desperate attempt to end the night then and there, I turned my eyes toward the last remaining couple to ask them what their plans were for the night. But, hey, have you any idea what? There was no longer anyone seated next to me. Agitatedly, my eyes scanned my surroundings, and that's when it dawned on me. Only she and I were left at the table. They took off 10 minutes ago, maybe. Or was it 15? Giggle. For the first time that night, I made eye contact with her. Her face was flushed, slightly red, probably due to all the alcohol she'd been hammering. It would have been visible to a blind that she was totally wasted. I didn't want to speak to her. I didn't want to waste another minute in her presence. But social etiquette was forcing me to, at the very fucking least, ensure that she didn't die before reaching her destination. Let's get out of here, I uttered coldly. She accepted right away. She didn't show any kind of fear about being alone with me, even though we were, without a shadow of a doubt, complete strangers. You should take a taxi, I said forcefully, but she quickly dismissed my words and said cheerfully, that's all for a bit, alright? I clicked my tongue. But this time, I made sure she heard it alright. She didn't seem to mind, or at the very least, if she did, she didn't show it. She had had a smile plastered on her face ever since we left the bar, and was not affected in the slightest by my cold behavior. She looked happy, irritatingly so. She didn't talk at all. This walk she had suggested was made in complete silence. That was fine by me. It was probably for the best, to be honest. I thought for the first time that night that maybe everything would turn out fine after all. Oops. Oh, she accidentally stumbled a bit onto my shoulder. That was... sorry. Her body touched mine. For the extremely small 2 seconds that it lasted, I felt the warmth of her breast on my arm, then the palm of her hand on my shoulder. It was then that I realized she was a member of the opposite sex. She looks happy, doesn't she? The happiness she stole from me. If she hadn't quit school that day, I'm sure our expressions would have been reversed right now. Yet she was always the one with the smile in the end, while we continue walking silently, but somehow we are closer now that I have helped her back onto her feet. wait a minute. Isn't this one of those kinds of situations, the one where I walk her to the closest hotel and she's too wasted to understand what's going on? Maybe. If I ask her nicely, she would even follow me willingly. Maybe she's still a virgin. Wouldn't that be wonderful? I could satisfy myself by taking away her pride back then. But what about now? I couldn't satisfy myself by taking her pride away back then. What about now? I could probably... Okay. Whoa. I could probably rape her and take everything away from her. Her pride, and most of all, that smile. Yikes. My member starts becoming erect. At these simple thoughts, it's a bit uncomfortable as my jeans are too tight for it to grow to its full potential. Take another hard look at her. Yes, what a beautiful body she has. Those hips and those breasts. Even her lips seem obscene right now. It would be a total shame for this indecent body of hers to be defiled by a complete stranger. Every inch would be stained, her purity gone forever. She would never have the opportunity to feel clean again. I could probably violate her over and over again until her mind becomes as hollow as mine. Now my manhood has reached its full magnitude. It throbs intensely, in anticipation for this forbidden act that my thoughts are drowning themselves in. One simple look at me would have probably given it away, but she's too preoccupied with trying to walk straight to even look in my direction. Imagining the pressure that I have in my pants right now, tainted as it is with the sin of my vile imagination, penetrating her pure body aggressively over and over again, without restraint, only pushes me further down this unforgiving path that shouldn't be crossed. But I've already decided, haven't I? I'm already fantasizing about her virginity, increasing by the pain I would most definitely inflict on her. I want to make her cry at the realization of losing something she will never get back. At that moment, I will lick every last tear from her face until she's completely drained. My hand approaches her thigh slowly. If I could just get my hand around her to help her keep her balance, as an excuse, I could easily control our destination. That moment would seal her fate. Then I would rip that smile from her perfect face. Maybe at the end of the day, I would even be satisfied enough to forgive her. Maybe at the end of the day, I would finally become whole again. My only regret is not acting the part from the start of the night. If I had pretended to be gentle and caring, had laughed with her about how stupid and young we were back then, I could have pushed her even further down the road of complete hopelessness by betraying even her expectations. Her soft voice came to my ears out of nowhere. I abruptly stopped my hand from going any further. I didn't notice because of how captivated I was by her alluring form, but she was looking right back at me, looking at my face. All places. How long has she been looking? I have no idea, but she saw it. That I'm sure of it. My disgusting expression, already corrupting every inch of her body with my black, senseless eyes. She saw everything, yet the only thing she thinks of saying is, "I'm sorry, I knew how much you hated me, yet I..." Then she stumbled on me once again, this time with even less restraint. Her eyes, those eyes, I remember, have they really been this way the whole night? It can't be. I stop briskly, and she soon follows suit. "Do you have any money?" I asked mechanically. Yeah, "Not much," she replied blankly, as though knowing the question would be asked eventually. "Can't be helped then." I took out my phone and input a string of numbers in the same mechanical fashion in which I've been handling her the whole night. What are you doing? I didn't reply to her. I didn't even look her way. Instead, yes, at the intersection of and I put my phone away emotionlessly. Tim, I thought it would have been nice to talk for a bit. Don't you wanna? She seems let down. What does this woman want from me? Didn't she see my face a second ago? Is she that desperate to be met by some loser like me? I take my wallet out, grab 2 $20 bills and shove them into her hand violently. The taxi will be here in 5 minutes. They should cover the bill. I turn around without waiting for a reply, or saying goodbye for that matter. She doesn't say anything either. She simply looks at me with those eyes. Those eyes which are even colder than mine. Okay. Whoa. Okay, we're on chapter 3. Cool. So then, cheers. I will see you guys in the next one. And, yeah. Bye-bye.
Failure ain't an option.